Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Medusa back at you again with another reaction video to the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial. The video is going to be based off of them actually trying to waive and strike every single thing that Johnny Depp and his attorney team actually tried to provide as evidence in this case. It's freaking crazy. But yeah, we're going to go and react to it. If you guys aren't subscribed, I would really appreciate if you click that link down below to my YouTube. We're actually up to 72 subs, so I got to update that little 60 down there because we're growing so rapidly. I appreciate all the love and support, and give me some ideas for any new videos that you guys want to see. Send them down in the comments below. Also, like, share with your friends. We want to get that algorithm rolling so that way we can build more support, more love to the channel, and more Medusa Army followers. So yeah, I appreciate you guys once again, but let's get into the video. Now, before we start the video, I also want to give a shout out to Law and Crime channel. Go ahead and subscribe to them as well. I've been watching them on YouTube for this entire trial. People have been knocking off their video clips and trying to pass it off as their own, but I like to give credit to the people that actually do this correctly and really help to get all this information out to you guys. So yeah, let's get on with the video. Keep on watching.
In deference and respect to the court's time, Mr. Depp incorporates by reference the legal analysis set forth in the court's opinion letter dated March 27, 2020, overruling Ms. Heard's demurrer to the 3 defamatory statements at issue. And that letter opinion is attached as Exhibit 1 to Mr. Depp's opposition. That's where the court fulfilled its proper gatekeeping role that Mr. Rottenborn referred to. As a threshold matter, the elements of a defamation claim are the following: publication of an actionable statement with the requisite intent, citing the Shaker versus Bonfalt case 290 Virginia 81 at 91. As to damages, they are presumed here because Ms. Heard's false allegations of domestic abuse, sexual assault, and rape constitute defamation per se, citing the Tronfield case 272 Virginia 709 713, a 2006 case.
So yeah, guys, I mean, if all of these claims are false and she's been lying about every single thing that Johnny Depp has supposedly done or said to her physically, emotionally, anything in that case, all this op-ed stuff that she's posting to get these people to react to everything, it's super defaming to Johnny Depp. I mean, why do you think he lost his contracts with Disney? Why do you think he's constantly getting cut out of movie roles? I mean, he's been absolutely devastated in this, but let's keep going.
Loss of his mother was already on the other side of the country, was already in New York at the time of this TRO, and was heading to Europe for several weeks. So she knew she didn't need any protection from him. This was just a scam for her to get the $7 million in the divorce settlement that she said she gave to the ACLU. She swore she gave to the ACLU and the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, and she pocketed instead.
Yeah, so that was another big thing with this case. Sorry to keep pausing it, but it's going to be a reaction, so we're going to keep pausing a little bit to respond. But yeah, I mean, with the whole op-ed that came out, she said all of this stuff from her recent divorce and that whole trial previously a couple years back. She said she was going to take that $7 million that she got. She didn't want the money. She said she was going to donate it to a children's hospital for dying children, and then never did. Like, like what? How terrible do you have to be as a human being to say that you're going to donate all this money that you supposedly don't want because you're filthy, wealthy, rich, and don't need it to a children's hospital with children who are dying and on life support, and completely lying about it and then pocket it itself? It's absolutely fucking blasphemous. Pardon my mouth, but it's blasphemous, and it's just absolutely not cool whatsoever.
Mr. Depp, Ms. Dombrowski, Mr. Carino, Mr. Wiggum, and the inimitable Mr. Doherty of the ACLU, which lent its once respected name to Ms. Heard's defamation. So while Ms. Heard may have avoided any direct mention of Mr. Depp's name, there is extensive testimony and evidence in the record showing that the implication of her op-ed could not be more clear, i.e., that Mr. Depp abused Ms. Heard during the course of their marriage. Under Virginia law, quote, "It is not necessary that the defamatory charge be in direct terms, but it may be made indirectly. and it matters not how artful or disguised the modes in which the meaning is concealed if it is in fact defamatory.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't have to specifically say, hey, this person, Johnny Depp, completely abused me emotionally, physically, he slapped me around, hit me. You don't have to name drop for them to know exactly who and what you're talking about. And I don't know if you guys see that in the little background, but you see how all smug and reactive she's being to everything? Like, everything he's saying is bullshit or completely false. But I mean, you don't have to specifically name drop an allegation like that for people to know who you're talking about. I mean, you're married to this person, obviously at the time. So I mean, who else could you possibly be talking about?
Citing Carwile. Well, we can argue as to how artful it was, but the implication was very clear, as the court has previously ruled, or not law of the case, but as the court has persuasively written in its opinion letter. Let's move to the falsity of Ms. Heard's ever-evolving and ever-escalating change of IPV and sexual assault. Mr. Depp's sworn denial is all he needs to survive a motion to strike, but there's a lot more than that, Your Honor, and I'll try to be brief. 3 police officers, actually 4, but the 3 who testified already, Officers Sines, Haddon, and Gatlin, testified unequivocally that Ms. Heard did not have a mark on her on the evening of May 21, 2016.
Sorry to pause again. I'm going to let him continue through all this. But, I mean, there's been testimonies, everything out the freaking wazoo, saying that she never had a mark on her, never was physically abused from anything that anybody ever saw. Anything that she claims has happened, all these witnesses are coming out saying that the next day, bruises and marks like that don't just disappear in an hour. Okay, they last for a couple days. So the fact that she almost never wears makeup in order to cover up this stuff is just utter bullshit. I mean, come on.
And I could go through, I'll just go through very quickly. Officer Haddon, strike that. Officer Melissa Sines on jury trial day 10. Question, did you provide a copy of this pamphlet to Amber Heard? Answer, I did not. I didn't identify her as a victim of domestic abuse. The next day, Officer Melissa Sines. Okay, at this time, did you notice any injuries on Ms. Heard? Officer Sines, I did not. Question, okay, were you looking to see if she had any injuries on her at the time? Officer Sines, yes, I was.
Of course, that's his job.
And so you were looking to see if Ms. Heard had any injuries and you determined that she did not. Is that accurate? Officer Sines, correct. Question, okay. And was the lighting good enough in the hallway for you to make that determination? Answer, yes, the hallway was well lit. Officer Gatlin's testimony was the same, and he had the body cam. Officer Haddon's testimony was the same.
Yeah, they all testified exactly the same. They had body cams, pretty prevalent.
Who, like the police officers, did not work for Mr. Depp. In fact, they worked for Dr. Kipper, also belied Ms. Heard's false allegations of abuse. Isaac Baruch and Alejandro Romero both testified that they saw Ms. Heard repeatedly and in the clear light between May 21, 2021, which was the last time Mr. Depp saw her before leaving on the Hollywood Vampires tour. The next time he was to see her was when Ms. Heard begged him to come see her in San Francisco, which is hardly the act of a domestic abuse victim.
Yeah, I mean, that can be a little controversial only because of the fact that like there has been a lot of domestic abuse victims that continue to go back to their abuser because they think they're in love, so on and so forth. So I mean, yes, I mean that's I'll kind of side on that way with Amber Heard is like. If you think you're in love with somebody, you'll continue to go back to your abuser no matter what they're doing because you think, oh, they're going to change, so on and so forth.
So we have Isaac Baruch and Mr. Romero saying that they saw Ms. Heard repeatedly in the interval of time between May 21 and May 27th when she obtained the farce ex parte TRO, and they saw no marks on her face and no swelling. 2 witnesses, Mr. Baruch and Brandon Patterson, saw the video of Ms. Heard and her sister Whitney pantomiming the fake punch after this alleged incident of abuse.
This guy's going page
Ms.
after
Heard's
page.
former personal assistant, Kate James, and several other witnesses, including Dr. David Kipper, saw no violence by Mr. Depp and no injuries to Ms. Heard. Indeed, witness after witness has come forward to testify that Ms. Heard, far from being a domestic figure representing domestic violence, unquote, is in fact a recidivist perpetrator of domestic violence on Mr. Depp and others.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not only terrible that she's accusing Johnny Depp of being abusive and being violent, but the fact that she's basically doing the whole Me Too movement, but also being on the other side of that and also being the one that's being abusive, not only to Johnny Depp, but members of her staff, people she's worked with, people she's been around. Like, this is just who she is. Like, you're gonna play the victim and say, oh, you know, yeah, I'm a member of abuse and sexual abuse and violence and domestic battery, but you're the perpetrator of it. You're the person actually committing these offenses. You just want to play the victim. That's sad.
We have the testimony, the harrowing testimony of Mr. Depp himself, who described several witnesses. One, as Your Honor will recall, when he was hiding in the bathroom after escaping one of her attacks, and she claims to have hurt her foot kicking the door. Mr. Depp opens the door to see if she's hurt, and then she kicks the door in on him and punches him. We have the incident.
More proof she's the abuser.
2015, when Ms. Heard threw punches at him wildly at the back and side of his head. Mr. Depp testified that he ducked and covered to protect his face. Eventually, he turned around to grab her and stop her arms from flailing. December 15 in the Bahamas. During an argument, Ms. Heard grabbed a can of mineral spirits and threw it at Mr. Depp's face, striking him in the forehead, bridge, and nose area, and the jury saw a photograph of the bridge on the bruise of his nose. We have testimony from Mr.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is all these things that she's been throwing and hitting at him, he actually had pictures and bruises from not only his guards, but like paparazzi actually showing, because bruises don't just disappear overnight, actually showing all this stuff that she's done to him. Like, he had physical proof, whereas she has absolutely nothing to back up her claims whatsoever.
By the way, Tara Roberts, who was the manager of the island, confirmed that the incident with the mineral spirits.
Look how smug she is. God, it's so annoying.
Happened on April 22nd, 2016. And we've heard testimony today from Aaron Borum-Filati that Mr. Depp was very responsive, was very sociable, was not in any way inebriated that day when Ms. Heard says he was, and she attacked him that night as well. And I'm getting to the end of this, Your Honor.
He's going on. He has evidence after evidence, list after list.
We have Ms. Heard's own admissions. We have her admitting to hitting Mr. Depp, and her only contention was that she wasn't punching him, she was just hitting him. We have testimony from Travis McGivern that on February 23rd, 2015, Ms. Heard threw and hit Mr. Depp with a can of Red Bull and then sucker punched him with a closed fist. Finally, we have the rather stunning testimony of Ben King, quite a credible witness who accompanied Ms. Heard on the flight back from Australia, where Ms. Heard admits to him in a rhetorical question, quote, "Did you ever totally lose it on someone you love?" Which was, we would respectfully submit, an admission of her severing the top or the tip of Mr. Depp's finger.
No, I didn't actually get to watch that witness statement at all, but I mean, that's a little bit of a stretch. Like, yeah, I guess I kind of stretched that point a little bit. But I mean, she's admitted so many times to hitting and abusing him, and then is trying to play the victim. What? That just blows my mind.
Finger. Finally, Your Honor, statement number 3, quote, I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse. Again, quoting very briefly from page 7 of the court's opinion letter, quote, drawing every fair inference in plaintiff's favor, the court can fairly conclude the defendant's statement that she saw how institutions protect men accused of abuse could reasonably convey to its recipients that she saw how Mr. Depp was protected by institutions, that he abused her and spoke up against it.
So that's actually a super big thing about this entire trial. So, like, she's pointed out multiple times that just because Johnny Depp is a man, that he can't be a victim of domestic violence, because all these institutions are constantly backing him and saying, oh yeah, he can beat and batter and absolutely hurt anybody he wants to, but they'll protect him because he's a man. Like, as soon as Disney heard about this op-ed, boom, cut off the movie whatsoever. He's not going back to the Pirates of the Caribbean because he doesn't trust Disney whatsoever anymore. Same thing with he was Grindelwald. He was like the perfect Grindelwald, and now he can't do the new Harry Potter movie because of that op-ed or because of these accusations. Like, clearly the institution is not protecting him because he's a man whatsoever. Basically, all you have to do is put a white lie out there, and everybody's gonna believe you because you're the supposed victim, without any proof or evidence to back it up whatsoever. It's really sad that that women can go around and do this, and play the victim, because yes, I will agree, there's tons of women's victims out there that are victims of domestic abuse and violence, from both sexual, physical, and emotional. But the fact that they can completely convict a man for these actions without any actual evidence or proof, it just kind of says something about our society, and it's really been going on for far too long. So this is why I'm really in depth in this case, because not just because it's a celebrity case, but because men have been portrayed as the perpetrators of domestic abuse and violence, and continuously just told that there's no such way that they can be victims of domestic abuse because they're supposedly bigger or stronger, whereas this trial is just basically putting down to a T that that's entirely false. Anyway, back to it.
Your Honor, again, we have multiple testimony from multiple people, including Jack Wiggum and all the others mentioned, that this was a reference to that. Your Honor, again, the lies that have already been exposed that Ms. Heard has told about the charitable contributions, the incidents in this case, and again, I'll just cite a couple of more. The testimony of Isaac Baruch, when Mr. Baruch saw Ms. Heard on June 3, after she'd gone through with the sham ex-party TRO, and Mr. Baruch was asked, did she say anything in response? And Mr. Baruch testified, yeah. In response to that, she, meaning Ms. Heard, looks at me and said, I told Johnny I don't want anything. The lawyers are making me do all of this. And that's what she said. Well, the lawyers are making her do all of that. And apparently she wanted the $7 million for herself. She even lied about the final insult left on the marital bed after her 30th birthday party.
Oh, they're talking about the Turd Ferguson, Amber Turd. But yeah, I mean, she's basically she's playing the victim against her own attorney team saying, "Oh, well, they made me do all this. They made me basically do all this and lie. And I actually did want the $7 million. I didn't want to donate it to this children's hospital." Like, really? Come on, just say that then. You don't have to even bring up the children's hospital at all. Like, it's your word. Your attorney team or your legal team is not forcing you to say or do anything.
And it was quite telling that she admitted to Starling Jenkins, a former United States Marine, that this was a terrible prank gone awry. Well, she lied about that too. In fact, she said Mr. Depp was crazy to even allege that she could have done such a thing. Well, she admitted it to Mr. Jenkins.
See, she's so smug in the background. She thinks it's funny, but it's like you're complete. What's the word for it? She's completely gaslighting anything that could possibly happen to Johnny Depp. Like, she's just saying, "Oh, I could never possibly take a shit on your bed, on our marital bed. I could not take a shit on your bed, leave it there for weeks because I'm not insane. I'm not a crazy person. Why would I do that?" And then weeks later admits that she did it. Like, bitch, what? That's just the key definition of gaslighting, basically making Johnny Depp think like he's crazy for ever even accusing her of doing things like that. That just blows my mind. It's crazy.
Per Tronfield, as cited earlier, Mr. Depp does not have to prove damages because this is defamation per se. In fact, these involve some of the most heinous crimes any man or woman can be accused of. However, he has done so.
That's a little bit of a hyperbole there.
Yesterday that the impact of the op-ed was catastrophic on Mr. Depp's personal and professional life.
Yeah, again, back to the op-ed, it completely devastated his career, period. Not only his career, but his family, everything. His name is completely tarnished just because of these accusations, period.
That it was a $22.5 million loss on Pirate 6 and another $20 million on others. We've had the...
$50 million just on those two films. It's insane.
We've had the testimony, so we had Mr. Wiggum testifying as to the 22.5 lost on Pirate 6 and another 20 lost on the other films, the other studio films, the indie films.
Rounding up, of course. It's like 42 mil or whatever.
The other ways Mr. Depp would have made income.
And that's only on the films, like, let alone basically you just dragging his infamous name through the dirt and saying something that should be... Any man that does these things that she's accusing him of should be convicted and sent to prison. Don't get me wrong. I totally believe that too. Anyone that wants to put physical or emotional abuse on their spouse, absolutely go to jail. No doubt about it. But the fact that you're lying about it in order to make this happen and absolutely defame his name clearly. I mean, why do you think so many people are backing Johnny Depp right now? It's insane. Not just because they're fans of Johnny Depp.
We have Richard Marx's testimony, Douglas Banya's testimony, and the testimony of Michael Spindler just this morning. Finally, Your Honor, none of Ms. Heard's affirmative defenses, which would include, her trying to create an issue of fact on the title, can support a motion to strike, as to which she bears the burden of proof of her affirmative defenses. Quote, whether the defendants have met their burden cannot be resolved when considering a motion to strike. See 243 Virginia at 83. And just to respond.
And yeah, it's completely the plaintiff or Johnny Depp's legal team's position to where you have to prove any evidence that this stuff has been going on. I mean, she doesn't have to prove anything that she's supposedly innocent or has lied about this stuff. They have to prove that she's defamed his name in some way, which obviously innocent until proven guilty, not guilty until proven innocent. Like, he has to prove it, which pretty sure they've done pretty damn good job so far of.
On to Mr. Rottenborn's citation to the Lacova case, which we hadn't seen until he mentioned it today, I would only note, Your Honor, that defendant admits that she tweeted a link to the online version of the op-ed, paragraph 97 of her
on her own Twitter.
Though again,
she's been hacked. Quantum TV
is more than enough to survive the motion to strike. And the Lakova case at 995 F. 3rd 134 holds that republishing a hyperlink doesn't necessarily start the statute of limitations, not that a hyperlink cannot be defamatory. So with that, Your Honor, we respectfully request that the court deny the motion to strike in full, and let's hear from Ms. Hurd. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, right before we hear the judge's verdict on this, because this is pretty telling, they're trying to completely strike all this evidence and all these witnesses that Johnny Depp and his team have brought up here in order to completely just close the case, absolutely have nothing to do with it anymore, have her win, and never have to take the stand whatsoever. Because if you are Amber Heard's attorney team right now, the last thing you want is that smug bitch sitting on the stand. I'm sorry, but she'll destroy her own case alone. She'll get flustered, frazzled. It's going to be a wreck, so I can't wait to see if she's going to actually stand trial tomorrow. We'll see.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Your motion?
Let's listen to what the judge
Thank you,
says.
Your Honor. I can only assume that Mr. Chu wrote that speech
Okay,
for an
the
audience
defense
outside
is
the
going
court
back now.
because it didn't really address my arguments. I'm going to focus on what our specific arguments
This guy's
are
such
for
a
the
prick.
motion to strike, Your Honor. Mr. Chu spent almost 30 minutes of the court's time talking about the disputed evidence of physical abuse in this case, which Ms. Hurd hasn't even put on her case, and I can tell you she's not the abuser, and if the case moves forward, she and her witnesses will put on even more evidence of the physical abuse she suffered at the hands of Mr. Depp. But that's not the basis for our motion right now, Your Honor.
Because you don't want her to take the stand.
He talks about how Mr. Depp had a sworn denial, and that should count. We read his testimony. He claims he didn't strike her. But again, that's not the basis for our motion. The basis for our motion is the clear and undisputed evidence of non-physical abuse. By his definitions, by his standards, by the standards of his expert, there is no dispute that Mr. Depp abused Amber. And therefore, if he did it even one time, there is no dispute that even under their theory of the case, the implication that they want the jury to draw from the...
Sorry, I have to pause what he's saying because he's bullshitting his way through this right now. But basically, they've seen that they've lost the entire physical abuse case because there's absolutely no evidence that he ever hit her. So now they're pleading and begging for the jury to basically see, oh, well, she was emotionally abused. He was emotionally attacking her over and over and over again. And if you would just completely dismiss all the evidence up to this point, we'll show you later exactly from Amber Heard's perspective, you know, the liar of all liars, that what we're saying is to be true.
The article, which again, I'm not arguing for the purposes of today, because under the legal standard, I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to waste the court's time with that. But even under their standard, the undisputed evidence is that
Johnny
Mr.
Depp's
Depp
like, you
did
think we're
commit
losing this?
abuse against Ms.
No,
Heard,
no.
and therefore that those first two statements were false. That's our argument on that. As to the headline, it's funny, Mr. Chu, we played 2 or 3 hours of an ACLU deposition. Now he says, well, that wasn't our witness. It was his witness, Your Honor. He just spent 10 minutes talking about what Mr. Doherty said, and Mr. Doherty testified.
He never said it was his witness.
The Washington Post wrote the headline. That is the only evidence, Your Honor. I understand he says, well, Exhibit 1 has her name on it. Exhibit 1 has her name on it. But the only evidence in this case about who wrote that headline is Mr. Doherty's testimony. It is undisputed. They could have put anyone...
That's the thing, is she doesn't have to be the author of this op-ed. She is trying to put it out to the world through her Twitter, through any accusations, to put his name on this op-ed. Because without his name, this op-ed means absolutely nothing. I'm sorry, but nobody's going to read Amber Heard's op-ed on anything that she wants to talk about unless she puts Johnny Depp's name in it. I'm sorry, but he's way bigger than she is. He's a way bigger name. No one's going to read what Amber Heard has to say because she had one movie role. No one cares. I'm sorry, but no one cares.
Anyone else on? They could have called Ms. Heard for that because that was not part of the stipulation at the pretrial conference. It was only the tweet that we talked about.
They could have called Ms. Heard, but they
chose
didn't
not
have
do
to
that.
prove it.
Now, Ms. Heard will testify she didn't write that headline, so it wouldn't have helped them. But they've had 3 weeks.
What did he just say? He said, so if they had called Amber Heard, it would have helped their case to prove that she was trying to defame him? No shit.
Put on their case, Your Honor. They've controlled the playing field of evidence. There is no dispute that Ms. Heard did not write that headline. No dispute. Simply saying, well, her name is attached to it, that can't overcome the testimony of the ACLU. They call them a co-conspirator. Of course, Mr. Depp chose not to sue them. But the testimony of Terrence Doherty that she didn't write that headline, that takes care of the sexual violence headline, Your Honor. And I'm not going to take up any more of the court's time.
It doesn't, though. That doesn't take care of that at all.
Mr. Chu's argument that don't go to our motion unless Your Honor has any specific questions, but I want to be respectful.
So basically what he's saying is all this evidence that Johnny Depp's attorney is presenting and putting out there has nothing to do with what their motion is whatsoever. What? Come on, dude. And also, they did not completely steamroll you whatsoever. Most of these clips and most of these videos are of the defense questioning Johnny Depp, completely taking it over, not even letting him answer anything from his attorney team because they just interject with objections or hearsay or BS like that. It's just basically completely wanting to drown out any of their legitimate questions.
All right, thank you, sir. All right. For this motion, I've taken the arguments of counsel, and last night I
Right, now is
reviewed
our verdict.
all of the evidence that has been submitted in this matter. So as to the second and third alleged defamatory statements, at the motion to strike at this juncture, I view the evidence in the light most favorable to the plaintiff and reasonable inferences from the evidence to the plaintiff. And if there is a scintilla of evidence that a reasonable juror could weigh, then the matter survives a motion to strike. In this matter, there is evidence in the case that a jury could weigh that the statements were made by the defendant, that the statements were about the plaintiff, that the statement was published, that the statement is false, and the defendant made the statement knowing it to be false, or the defendant made it so recklessly as to amount to a willful disregard for the truth.
Exactly. There's so much evidence in this case, basically telling the jury, saying she has every reason to make it to where this op-ed has Johnny Depp's name in it and is completely supposed to be there to defame his character and name whatsoever. All evidence points to that, as you can hear the judge saying, and obviously all the evidence in the courtroom is what the jury's hearing as well.
The weight of that evidence is up to the fact finder, so the motion to strike is denied as to statement 2 and 3. The motion to strike as to statement 1...
You guys see that guy in the back? Hold on, let me see if I can backtrack here. This guy back here? Watch his hand.
And the defendant made the statement knowing it to be false, or the defendant made it so recklessly as to amount to a willful disregard
Watch this guy right
for the
here.
truth. The weight of that evidence is up to the fact finder, so the motion to strike is denied as to statement 2 and 3.
When she denies it.
The motion to strike as to statement 1, I'm going to take under advisement because if it's not a stipulation, I'm not sure what it is, but there seems to be an agreement that the tweet of Ms. Heard is part of the plaintiff's evidence, which is not in evidence at this point. So I can't rule on that statement whether or not it is just a tweet or if it's some sort of republication or something.
Yeah, so the tweet for the op-ed that she supposedly posted in his name isn't technically in evidence yet, so she can't rule a verdict on it. It wouldn't be fair.
Premature, because I just don't have that evidence.
Yeah, exactly. Okay? Premature.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
All right. Since it's 12:30, you want to just take lunch?
Yeah, motion to strike denied. We're gonna be hearing from Amber Heard, motherfuckers. Look how happy they are. Hell yeah.
Okay. All right, do you want to do it now?
Are they going to lunch? Or?
Okay, sure. All right.
Oh, okay, so they're going to lunch now. Awesome. So we're finally going to be able to hear from this frazzled liar, Miss Amber Turd. But as you can see, their motion to just completely dismiss all of his evidence that they've gathered so far, right down the drain. Completely striked it off. She said, bullshit. It's plain and clear that we can all see that she had every motive, every motivation to completely defame his character in order to prove what her lies were claiming to be true. But yeah, guys, again, if you like the video, if you want to see more reactions to the trial, click that link down below in the description. We're going to have tons and tons of more videos on this trial. Again, go ahead and subscribe to Law and Crime over there. Their channel is constantly posting daily videos on the trial here. It's super interesting because I'm super in depth and really diving into this trial because it holds a little bit more of a personal aspect for me. I won't go into that. But yeah, it holds a huge personal aspect in women constantly trying to ruin people's names and just absolutely just trying to defame someone's character, drag their name through the dirt for their own benefit or malicious intent for absolutely no reason. So yeah, if you like what you see, hit that red subscribe button down below, ring that bell right next to it so that way you're notified every single time I post. I've been doing Elden Ring videos, this trial videos, been doing little meme videos. Tell me in the comments what you like to see. What are your thoughts on this trial as well? I get right back to you guys, and I appreciate it. I like to like every single one of your comments, and I like to pin it all the way to the top, the best comment of the day. So yeah, let me know what you guys want to see. It's always fun chilling with you guys. We like to stream as well. So yeah, if you like the video, go ahead and hit that like button down below. It really helps the YouTube algorithm. See you guys later. Peace.